for these people. Bring them to me. You're the Daniels. Clap for these people. Morgan, Shirley. I'm with you people. I'm going to join you. Happy Sunday, everybody. I was asked to come here and be a moderator on a panel, these talented artists, and then I found out the Daniels were fucking gonna be here. And I said to them, why the fuck am I doing this? This is them, this is their entire thing, it's them. Why am I sitting here asking questions? Why am I here, you guys?
Oh, you're great with a crowd.
Yeah.
We wanted to see what you would ask us.
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything. I want to just kind of watch the magic happen.
Okay, all right. Well, here, I'm just going to ask a bunch of questions and they're going to all answer. Because I'm as curious as all of you. That the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and yet the sum of its parts are the thing, this kaleidoscope of a cinematic experience is so many parts, so many people creating together in this incredible way for these guys coming together. So the first question I have is, which one of these, actually, let's go down the line. Everybody say your name and what your job is, please.
Kelsey Ephraim, I was the set decorator.
You. I got questions for her.
Jason Casvarde, production designer.
I am Ryan Lott from Sunlux, score.
Shirley Carrada, costume designer.
I'm Larkin, I'm the DP on this.
Daniel.
Daniel. Daniel fucking Daniel. So, who here who did you first communicate about this movie to in this group of artists that are assembled here today?
There's either Jason or Larkin, right?
Yeah, we've been working with Jason Larkin for over 10 years, and so I feel like back when we had released Swiss Army Man, we would like soft pitch them some of our movie ideas. So like, we were just talking about it with Larkin last week, that he was one of the first people who really loved the concept of this, and he would constantly like hound us being like, are you guys gonna do that Kung Fu movie? He would always call it E3, because he wanted us to change the title to Everything Everywhere Every Time. We appreciated that he liked the idea, but we thought his title was bad.
So, Larkin, let's just start with you then. Talk about your process here. I don't need to ask you technical questions. We don't have a lot of time. Obviously, we all want to talk about everything, everywhere, all at once, together here. Talk about your experience, your process, what you brought to them in the sense of like how you were going to shift all the perspectives that are clearly so much a part of this movie.
Our process is generally slow and not formal. It's like we basically get in the car and go scout, and then conversations erupt from that. So like with Swiss Army Man, we did a road trip up the coast of California, and we basically just camped in the woods and talked about the movie. And with this one, we just started scouting.
And with that trip, raccoons kept stealing our food, and we wrote that into the script.
And then for this one, we just started scouting abandoned buildings, like months and months in advance. And we actually scouted the place that we ended up shooting and said, no, it's too big, we could never pull this off. And then wasted 3 months scouting other places only to come back to it. But our big part of the process is we're just kind of making jokes and talking about how stupid something could be. Like, what is the worst version of it, or what's the most ridiculous version? And then kind of breaking down what we love about it and like what is actually visual about it.
And you always say your job is taking our very dumb ideas and grounding it, right? Like, you want to talk about that a little bit, that challenge? Because we're always like, Larkin, I dare you to make this look cool.
I love this movie's very silly, and with the photography, we're trying to remove like that layer of comedy almost. They're trying to like kind of cancel out the comedy half the time and make it feel like a gripping, scene where they're talking about cows and cream cheese and like in a conference room, like trying to make that the compelling Die Hard moment where they're kind of putting all the things together and figuring out the next step. Even like the construction fight with the butt plugs, it was like, how do we actually give this some odds? And it's like, oh, we'll have it like underlit and like fiery red, so it's like a big fight, even though they have trophies coming out their ass. Like, how do we add the stakes to something so absurd? It was also like trying to ground the opening of it. Like, I love the opening of this film. We wanted it to feel like it was not going to be the movie that you get for the second half of it, and we wanted to not do a lot of shots and make it one-ers and make all the lighting practical and kind of dark and moody and not lit, so that as you get further and further down the line, like the story becomes more extraordinary. And when you get to, say like, the monkey scene where they have monkey fingers and on top of a rock, like that just stands out because everything else has felt realistic up until that point. Or kind of realistic, I guess.
And so Jason, since you were the other person that they had spoken to, and Kelsey, since not only do you speak to Kelsey, but they got married last week. To the same question about the opening of the film and the world of Evelyn and her life and that apartment and the reality of that apartment, which is so palpable. It's hard to imagine that's a set. Hard to imagine, Kelsey, that you actually dressed that set, that wasn't a real environment. It's extraordinary. So why don't you talk about exactly what Larkin just said about the grounding of these people's lives.
So a lot of this movie and working with the Daniels in the past is building environments that feel grounded and real as much as possible so that it feels tangible to everybody watching it. But then there's the twist and the magic and the interesting things happen. And a lot of our challenge on this and every project with them has been how, it can be slightly elevated or heightened, but to make it feel real, and then the weird stuff happens. Because I feel if you start in an overly heightened or decorated place, you're already here, and then where can you go from there? So with the apartment in particular, and that was hard because that was one of the few sets that we built from scratch, while most of the other locations.
Well, I'm going to explain that in a minute, Daniel. What are you, like a director or something? What do you think, you can just like take it over? Continue, please.
It's the challenge with that and that Kelsey was tasked with was how do we make this fully fabricated set feel as good as the rest of the real world locations that we're in and give it that grit and texture. And so that was the challenge that Kelsey had was, hey, we built this set, we built the bones of it, now go add layer after layer after layer to make it feel as authentic as possible. And there were lots of conversations with Dan and Daniel and Larkin and other people. We built it in the same building that was the IRS location, and we built it weeks ahead of shooting it. And we would, at lunch, go walk into the set and see it at every stage of construction and decorating, and just hang out in there, eat a sandwich, and look at it and go, is it there yet? No, this feels a little meh, that feels a little wah. And it was a long process of just zhuzhing it in that direction. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, not much to add, but yeah, it was poring over lots and lots of reference photos of busy, cluttered apartments that we loved and finding details that were like, oh, I love this little detail. Reaching out to a lot of people and friends that are Chinese Americans that had photos of where they grew up and what the kitchen looked like and the certain groceries they had. So just trying to be as authentic as possible. And just, yeah, it was nice that we had a couple weeks to really keep building and building on it and finding more things to dress it. And I love having my set dressers help out and like, I'll do my version of it and then have them come in and really make it even feel more lived in. So just having a great team beneath us was super helpful too.
No. You can ask Kelsey a question after. Just so you guys understand, because I'm still in shock about it. So this movie was shot primarily in the abandoned Countrywide Savings and Loan. You remember them? They were the first to go of the subprime mortgage catastrophe. That is the campus of the Countrywide Savings and Loan in Simi Valley, California, where we shot. That's the IRS office. But in the cafeteria, thanks Dan, in the cafeteria, the interior of Evelyn's apartment is built inside the cafeteria. It is a set that is for, walls. You understand set design. It's walls made of timbers, and then they create that. Do you understand? That was not a real apartment. That was a set built in the cafeteria. It also is the set of Deirdre Beaubierdre and Evelyn's apartment. It is the same set. And what Kelsey was saying today was the Evelyn apartment is the final production, but the flashbacks to when they were married and the Dusty Rose, Evelyn and Deirdre apartment is also that same apartment built inside a cafeteria in the Countrywide Savings and Loan building. I just find it fascinating. I see that and I don't believe that's not a real apartment. It's the magic of movies. Also, not yet, I would like to ask a couple more people some questions, please. And then you can ask a question if we have time.
This was my question. Just shout out to Jason and Kelsey that the set was also mostly reclaimed wood from other sets. So we built it based on what they could get for free.
That's a fascinating factoid, and I think very important. Also, the movie was made for nothing, so you can imagine having reclaimed wood. The part of this movie that amazes me of how beautifully it is presented is the costume design, because it mirrors really, Jason, what you just said and what Larkin said, which is you have to ground these people. You have to believe they are real people. When Michelle Yeoh and I were doing one of the first press events, Michelle Yeoh, I remember we were on a Zoom. Remember the Zooms? We were on a Zoom, and she said that Evelyn was a woman who you would pass by on the street and not even, she was unremarkable. She was a middle-aged woman you would pass on the street without even noticing her. And so that grounding of that human being, Shirley, and that family, and that world, and then the spectacular, just explosive costume design particularly when Jobu shows up. First of all, just snaps on you, Shirley. And to do it within a budget like that is extraordinary. And I don't really have a question. I just want to tell you you're amazing. But how did you go about that? That's a stupid fucking question. How did you? But seriously, what were your first? Please, Dan. Please, one of you guys. You guys directed it. Please, somebody.
No, that's a great question. The process starts off with just imagining this character and where would they shop? Who is this person? And sort of from there observing, people in the real world, doing research and, just looking at blogs and sort of trying to understand who this person is and, how they would dress. So for Evelyn, I thought, well, she's a busy woman, but I feel like she would shop in Chinatown. And so I did like the majority of the shopping for her in Chinatown. And I also like observed like what my mom, was dressed like, and Daniel Kwan sent me pictures of how his mom dressed. And so, taking inspiration from all that, that's where I got Michelle's, costumes as Evelyn. Jobu, on the other hand, it was just like, the Daniels told me like, just go wild, go crazy. They kind of sent me some of their inspiration boards and to sort of also just kind of go freely from there. And so that involved a lot of sort of like flat fashion blogs and like street fashion and just sort of combining all that and sort of creating some great outfits. And also keeping in mind that the budget was quite limited, so I had to sort of like figure out what I could do with what I was given.
Oh, more than, I look at that and I think the expansiveness of those costumes, particularly Jobu's end game, end of world, end of days game is so spectacular. I hope you have the internet or some sort of social media, because Halloween this year was all Shirley. I think Shirley owned Halloween this year.
Our first meetings, right, they kind of were, the Daniels were jokingly saying like, why don't you just make costumes that people are gonna like, dress up for Halloween, and I was.
We're joking.
I know.
I always say like, the quality of your work if come Halloween people are dressing like your characters. That's to me. I don't care about Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care about Oscars. Halloween costumes. That's how you know.
And I agree. And so when they told me that, I was like, oh gosh, okay. I hope I can, pull this off. But then, we just had Halloween, and people just like. I was so floored and amazed by some of the costumes that people created, and I know some of them were easy ones, and it was really such a huge compliment to see all that.
You should hire some of them for the next movie.
We're good.
Really good work.
Yeah.
I do love pointing out that like we did, because of the limited budget and also just our style, I guess it was a very open prompt to Shirley and Anissa Salazar and Michelle Chung, who did hair and makeup. And so many of the Jobu looks are like 5% Dan and I and 95% them. So it makes it, I get to fan out watching people dress up. That's so cool, that's Shirley's costume.
But it comes from the emotion of the movie. The reason people are responding is not because of the exaggeration of the movie, it's because of the central beating soul of the movie that you guys then built on. Speaking of the great essential soul of the movie, the score of this movie has such a beautiful, it's fascinating to me, and obviously I'm a fan sitting here. I'm not a collaborator because I showed up, did my thing and left. And then saw it at South by, seriously. Literally. So, but the sounds that you created to accompany this very complicated, meticulous piece of work is extraordinary. I don't even know what to ask you how you did that, but what was the collaborative process between you and obviously the Daniels? And your
my bandmates.
your
Thank you so
bands.
much, Jamie. So it wasn't just me. I'm missing my brothers Rafiq and Ian, the other members of Sunlux. We are a team, and we did this movie as a team. It was an extraordinary process. You guys hit us up in September of 2019. So we were engaged really early on, and I think it was because you guys knew that this was going to be a big piece of the puzzle that was going to maybe be tricky, because it was going to kind of have to do, everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah.
It was gonna have to be a multiverse score, but also sound like one thing. And you mentioned that they're the beating soul of the movie, and I think ultimately that was our task. We had to channel switch and flip around, but we couldn't let go of this kind of whatever was driving this story to be a beautiful one and to be one of complex reconciliation.
Yeah. The deepest.
And unresolved as well. So reconciliation is also unresolved. And I think Daniels, they both knew that this movie would have, like, the score would have to, as Larkin put it, sort of cancel out the comedy. And
Right.
I think one of the most important primary directives y'all gave us, even in that very first meeting before we even seen the script, which was obviously batshit crazy. You can imagine what the script looked like. Like it was unreadably weird. And the first one you sent us was okay, cool. It was the meeting was good and everything, and it was cool. Okay, well, we'll send you the script, and we're yeah, cool, excited. And then we're what? It's we're such a self-serious band, and then you guys sent this ridiculously. It was incredible, and if that movie was made, it would have been of what, a 3.5, 4 hour movie. It was just such a dense, wild piece of nothingness, kind of. And I swear I thought that PDF was broken. I thought my file was fucked up. It was because it was wait, this says page 48 and this says page 49, but that doesn't make any sense. So we were all super excited. We were all this is gonna be amazing. And then we read the script and we were oh man, it would have been amazing to work with the Daniels, but obviously this movie's not gonna get made. I mean, right? Who would and then they were at some point you guys were okay, well, we'll humor them. We'll start sending them, we were excited. Whatever happens, it'll be cool to send them music. So we started working on it. And at some point it was guys, we had this meeting. You're guys, we got Jamie Lee Curtis.
No, fuck you. I appreciate that. No.
I'm not lying.
They said, we got Michelle Yeoh, baby.
That might be true.
We got Michelle Yeoh. We all got Michelle Yeoh. Michelle fucking Yeoh, people! Seriously.
But that was the point at which I was oh, wait, so we're actually gonna do this.
Oh, yeah.
This movie's gonna actually happen, and then, yeah. But anyway, so the primary directive was this has to be beautiful. These themes, they have to sing in your heart, they have to make you cry, they have to make you, and even in the midst of all this madness and and humor and absurdity, ultimately there's this thing that cannot, this is impenetrable thing, and so that was the directive. And then we spent 2 years basically crying every time we went to work.
Okay, so, because this was a very short and we have so many talented people, I'm gonna ask one question of everybody. It's the same question. And then we'll just go down, starting with Kelsey. We'll have to keep our answers fairly short because there's somewhat of a ticking clock, although I would spend the rest of the fucking day asking these people questions. Honestly, I think we could just spend the day here, pass the mic around. I think each of you would ask something different. We would learn so much about the process, the creative process of how do you put a movie like this on the screen. But since we don't have that opportunity, the question is, can you tell us all a detail about the movie that you're proud of that audiences may have missed? And Kelsey, we'll start with you. Is there something that we may have missed that you're particularly proud of?
Something that's interesting is we had to make this giant empty office building look like it was full of people working there. And we have a limited budget because I'm having to split my money between all these different sets. So something we did is most of the computer screens in the whole office are just cardboard cutouts. They're not real computers. And all the bulletin boards in the background are just printouts. So it looks like there's stuff happening in the background, but it's like, it's all fake and nothing really works except the stuff that's right in front of camera, so that was interesting.
See? Jason?
I want to hear Jason answer 10 things. This is Jason's
You get,
favorite thing. is
Jason,
putting
one
details.
question.
All right. I hit a bunch of props and set deck from past music videos that we've done with the Daniels throughout the movie. One of them was in the break room when they smash into the vending machine. It's packed with cheese puffs, which were the exact same cheese puffs from Swiss Army Men that Paul Dano finds on the beach and carries around with him around his neck. So that was one of many, but I don't think we really told people about that all that much, but I was excited about it.
Well, okay, keep going, Ryan.
When Jamie Lee Curtis, when you launch off of the railing in the stairwell to like do the thing, whatever. What is the name of that move? Yeah, the flying knee kick. I wrote a choral arrangement of Claire de Lune that is reciting the words "I love you" over and over again. I love you, I love you, I love you. And and as you launch in the air, there's this choir that like slowly creeps in, this like 4-part harmony of "I love yous" that like it's like your vicious embrace that is like reflecting off of like another universe, and it's ultimately like also Michelle's like she's like trying to conjure the "I love you," right? And it's like the universe is like trying to help her, you know, and then ultimately, and then she is able to get it out, you know. Anyway, that's like
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it. Shirley?
I'm going to talk about purses because, yeah.
Purses.
Because for one thing, Michelle's, for Evelyn, I was looking for like a good purse that, that she would carry, and I was in Chinatown, and there was one stall, and there was a purse that was probably like, I don't know, on a back shelf for like 20 years ago. It looked really old, and I was like, oh, that purse is perfect, and I think he sold it to me for like $5. And when I showed it to Michelle was like, oh, this is great. This is exactly what you would, carry. But she wouldn't carry it on her shoulder. She would carry it like this, because she's like, the women, like, that's how they walk the streets. They're holding their purse like that. And so I thought, that was a really great detail that Michelle had in terms of acting. You'll see her carrying it like that, I think, in the IRS office. And then Jamie, your character, Deirdre, we just get quick glimpses of it, but I was happy that, if you pause, you'll see it, but your cat purse, because, you're definitely a cat lady. Deirdre is. And you can see like pictures of like cats on her desk in her office, but then also in their apartment. You guys had plenty of cat artwork up, so felt like you would have a purse that had cats all over it.
Believe me, I remember the day. Larkin?
In our rush to get a million universes, we use my house as one. The pinata verse is my backyard.
And who's hitting the
My
pinata?
son Gus is in a dragon costume, hitting the pinata. We shot that in about 20 minutes after Rocks, I think.
Dan?
Wow, there's too many.
Just one.
Too many. I turned off my microphone.
I know.
My review.
Okay.
I'd say one of the things I think is interesting is the ending of the movie. We always thought of it as sort of a dark ending, and I think a lot of people leave it being like, oh, it's beautiful, whatever. And some people come up to me like it's really depressing. But the detail is like, obviously we wanted to end it in the place where they found each other again, which is great. I do think every victory is a temporary thing, and it's all about day to day. Will you reignite that victory, or recommit to that victory? And so we wanted to end the film basically implying that both Joy and Michelle are still, or Evelyn are still everywhere. They're still infinitely everywhere, and they're just every single day choosing to be in one place. And it's actually incredible. On the one hand, it's really beautiful. On the other hand, it's very Sisyphusian. It's very like, and which I feel like is probably the more truthful interpretation of that movie as far as a reflection of reality. So, yeah, I don't know. I find that interesting. Some people don't get that immediately. But,
I thought you were gonna tell him what she's hearing, because there's some pretty dumb
Oh, you can
stuff
do that too,
in the speakers there. No, I have a better one.
Please.
Not better than yours, just I don't want to talk about the sound effects, because I want to talk about how like we almost lost Jason Kizvarde. He almost retired from production design because Kelsey bought him stunt driving classes for his birthday a few years ago. And then Jason just kept going back and doing more and more stunt driving classes, and then working for minimum wage at the stunt driving school. And they're like, Jason, please keep production designing, you're so good at it. Part of the way we glued him into the movie was by adding more cars to the script. And then also, there's a part where Michelle's pushing Steph's shoe down, or no, Steph's shoe pushes Michelle down into there's headlights, and you hear a car honking, and there's a real car that had to slowly drive towards them. We did it nice and safe, and the stunt driver was Jason Kizvarde.
And
And Mom got hurt.
my little secret that most people may have missed is that Deirdre wore her watch over her wristband, or her wrist brace. That just made me happier than anything I've ever done. What I need to make sure that you all understand is that this is a masterpiece, and it's a miracle that this movie not only got made, but was made by this incredible, and by the way, there are so many other people that could be up here talking. Josh, I mean, there's so many people who participated in this kaleidoscope of brilliance, but it is just the most thrilling thing to watch you guys love it. We do it so you love it. And say what? Best picture, motherfucker. Absolutely. Welcome to Everything Everywhere All at Once. These are